Unveiling the Sinister, 15 spine-chilling confessions from Reddit's most haunted souls revealed. Lisa was well acquainted with the mundane, but there was something wicked lurking beneath the surface of her predictable routine in Maplewood. The neon diner sign buzzed like a restless spirit as she poured another cup of stale coffee, scrolling through Reddit as regulars murmured about daily life. The thread title caught her eye, and a shiver rippled through her. 15 spine-chilling confessions. Intrigued, she leaned in, not fully prepared for the stories to intrude upon her serenity. Vivid tales of shadowy figures creeping through familiar homes made her skin prickle, but when she heard a low rumble from the depths of her modest house, she shrugged it off. Just the wind, right? But day by day, that thought danced on the edges of her mind. Jake, her 16-year-old, seemed distant, his giggles replaced by an eerie hush. Some friends had vanished without explanation. It wasn't just kids being kids, something felt off. Adding to her dread was the neighbor, always ready with a warm smile and an offer to help. But whispers floated from his porch about buried secrets in the picturesque town. Lisa felt the weight of those words shift like shadows in the evening light, pushing her deeper into a spiraling fear. Then came the storm. As sheets of rain drummed against the windows, Lisa heard it again, the scratching from the attic. A low, miserable moan that split the silence. She swallowed hard, gripping her phone tight. Shadows danced menacingly in the flickering light, tapping into a darkness that prowled around her home. Was she losing her mind? Or was there something sinister at play? The unease clung to her, even as she returned to her computer, reading those Reddit confession stories entwined with betrayal and terror, all cloaked beneath a veneer of normal. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the nights crawled by, her anxiety morphed into a gnawing terror. Jake had left to borrow a tool from the neighbor and didn't he come back? Panic ignited, a firestorm of fear surged in her as she rushed over, her heart hammering against her ribs. Where's my son? The neighbor's calm demeanor felt increasingly untrustworthy, an ominous mask draped over his features. Oh, he's just fine, he said with a disarming smile, but something in his eyes, a flash of predatory hunger, made her stomach twist. The police wouldn't help, too many stories replayed in her mind. Bias and corruption lurked within even the safest of institutions. Alone, drowning in uncertainty, she climbed the rickety stairs leading to the attic. The pitch darkness beckoned like an unsealed tomb. As she peered in, a realization struck her like a bitter gust of wind. The attic was a necropolis, the horrors she'd read about rising from the pages, real and unrelenting. Just then, her phone vibrated violently, a message flashing on the screen. Mom, help me. I'm scared. Chills engulfed Lisa as she stood frozen, the true terror dawning upon her. Familiar places held no comfort now. What lurked in the shadows? Would she leap into the abyss of the unknown or flee into the clutches of the night, knowing safety had become a cruel illusion? The attic loomed above her like a dark gullet, waiting to swallow her whole. Lisa hesitated, heart racing as the shadows writhed. Jake! She shouted, her voice breaking against the chaos. No answer came, only the oppressive silence wrapped itself around her like a shroud. Her phone buzzed again, and the screen lit up fiercely. Help me, Mom. The text lingered, fresh dread pooling in her stomach. Who was sending this? Was it really Jake? Fear clawed at her throat, but she felt adrenaline propelling her. She had to know, had to face whatever lay waiting above. Gripping the railing tightly, she took the stairs 2 at a time, barely aware of the creaking wood protesting her every step. With each thud of her heart, the message echoed in her mind, took root in her veins. She swung the attic door open and a gust of stale air rushed out, hitting her like cold water. The sight inside was overwhelming. Boxes piled high, secrets buried in dust and darkness. A single bulb hung precariously, flickering like a dying star. She stepped in, her foot crunching on broken glass. "Jake?" she called, voice trembling now. The only reply was a faint rustle in the corner, almost like a whisper, then it happened a heavy thud, and out of the corner of her eye, she caught a blur racing past. She turned, heart hammering, and the darkness seemed to writhe, pulsate. Panic seized her. What if it wasn't Jake? What if something was far worse? A low croak emerged from the rows of boxes, the kind that rumbled through your bones. "Help me." It was neither the voice of a boy nor the echoes of the damned. It dripped with malice, twisting and ripping at the very fabric of her resolve. Every instinct told her to flee, yet she couldn't turn back now. Lisa edged closer to the sound, forcing her trembling limbs to obey as she slipped past the towering cardboard sentinels of her past. She could almost taste the fear, metallic, bitter. She could barely breathe. With each step, the whispering grew louder, a cacophony of anguish melding with the storm outside. Without warning, a shadow rushed at her, blurring the line between physical and spectral. Lisa gasped. "Jake!" But the figure stopped short. It wasn't Jake. It was something shapeless, a mass of darkness contorting as it approached, eyes glowing like embers in the void. Her pulse quickened, each beat louder than the last as instincts screamed to run. But she couldn't. She couldn't leave Jake. The thought of him trapped in some unseen horror made her throat close. Just then, her phone buzzed once more, a new notification. "You have to find me, Mom." Clarity struck her, and Lisa whipped around, a burst of determination surging through her veins. She would not be swallowed whole by the darkness. "I'm coming, Jake," she shouted, voice fierce, the echo reverberating in the attic's claustrophobic space, but as she turned to follow the sound, the mass lunged, freezing her in place. Its presence felt intimate, invasive, filling the air with a suffocating dread. The shape twisted and morphed, revealing the flickering outline of faces, twisted in anguish, each one whispering her name. "Lisa," they hissed, voices merging like a horrible symphony. An icy realization clawed her insides. Her search may lead into deeper horrors than she ever imagined. The true dread lay not just in finding her son but uncovering what was hidden in the darkness that gripped Maplewood. Was it worth the risk to bring those twisted shadows to light? Her breath hitched, and just before she could muster the will to move forward, the shadows swarmed her, the attic swallowing her screams. What awaited her beyond the veil of oblivion? The next confession was never meant for anyone's eyes, but it might just demand to be found. The shadows pulsed, swirling around Lisa like a living creature, tightening their grip on her. She felt their cold breath against her skin, a whisper of dread that slithered down her spine. The faces in the darkness were relentless, their mouths sewn shut, crying out silently for release. Panic clawed at her throat. The weight of unseen eyes bore down, watching, waiting. "Jake!" she cried once more, but her voice was almost lost in the suffocating void. Her phone buzzed again, each vibration a chilling reminder of her task. She squinted against the flickering light, straining to see anything recognizable among the chaos. Moving forward felt like stepping into the jaws of a beast, every step felt like it drew her deeper into a nightmare. The floorboards creaked ominously beneath her weight, echoing her doubt and fear. Those shadows throbbed, pulsating in rhythm with her racing heart. "You have to find me, Mom," the text hissed again in her mind, and she steeled herself, pushing through the creeping dread. Suddenly, the shape lunged again, and this time, Lisa stumbled backward, collapsing against a stack of boxes. They toppled over, spilling their contents like forgotten dreams. Dust billowed around her, and she coughed, each breath filled with the taste of decay. Yet, between the shadows and despair, a glimmer of recognition tugged at her attention. There it was, a childhood toy, Jake's favorite stuffed bear, its button eyes dull and haunted. Heart racing, she reached for it, and as her fingers brushed the fabric, the shadows screeched. The sound was ear-piercing, a shriek that reverberated through her bones and sent her into a spiral of terror. "Jake!" she shouted again, voice trembling but rising to a new intensity. Clutching the bear, she felt a surge of connection, a flicker of hope sparking in the depths of her fear. But the once comforting embrace of the toy now felt heavy, drenched in an unseen malice that pressed against her chest. "Come to me, Lisa." The words slithered from the darkness, each syllable drenched in venom. The voices split again, fighting for dominance, mingling into a chorus of despair that made her head spin. Each face in the darkness twisted into something grotesque, contorting with rage. "I won't leave you," she screamed, defiance bubbling within her. The glow of those malevolent eyes intensified, sharpening into hunting daggers. They were all around her now, closing in, the air thick with dread. The bear trembled in her grip, whispering her fears back to her, drawing the shadows nearer. Lisa's breath quickened, almost choking her as she tightened her hold on the toy. She had to find Jake. But at what cost? The shadows were relentless, pushing, pressing memories to the surface, things she'd buried deep, things she had never wished to confront. The walls of the attic seemed to close in, suffocating. With a howl, the mass lunged, almost in a frenzied dance of rage, and she stumbled back, losing her footing. The bear clattered onto the floor, its form quickly swallowed by the dark abyss. "No!" she screamed, but the shadows enveloped the toy, a gaping maw consuming all hope she had left. Behind her, the door slammed shut with a deafening thud. The light flickered once more before plunging into darkness, leaving her alone with the lost faces and the palpable dread of despair. An icy grip clutched her heart as reality twisted. Without the bear, would she ever find Jake? As she stood there, paralyzed, someone or something whispered in her ear, "You have to make a choice, Lisa." The darkness quivered in anticipation, a sinister pulse like a heartbeat. What choice would she make, and whom would it bind her to forever? The walls echoed with urgency. Time was running out. Would she confront the shadows that lingered, or would she be consumed by the very darkness that sought to claim her? The silence was thick, almost like a living entity, wrapping itself around Lisa, sealing her in a cocoon of dread. In the pitch blackness, breathing was a struggle, each inhale crackling with the remnants of fear. Shadows shifted soundlessly, whispering dark secrets in a language she was never meant to understand. With shaking hands, she reached out, her fingertips brushing against the cold floor, searching for any sign of the bear or something, anything that could tether her back to reality. Jake, the name escaped her lips again, more a prayer now than a demand. A flicker of movement caught her attention, and she froze, heart thundering against her ribcage. Was it him? But as quickly as it appeared, hope vanished. It was just another shadow, slithering away, leaving her alone once more. "Make a choice, Lisa." The voice was sharper now, clearer, with a cruel edge. It vibrated within her, stirring old fears, old regrets. Memories she had buried deep surged forth. Suddenly, she was 12 again, watching helplessly as her mother cried, torn apart by the loss of a sibling. Why hadn't she saved them? Why hadn't she been stronger? Her breath began to quicken as guilt seeped into the crevices of her soul. She took a step back, but the shadows mirrored her movements, advancing as if drawn by her turmoil. Panic gripped her. "What do you want?" she shouted, her voice echoing hollowly around her, tinged with desperation. The shadows twisted closer, a mass of writhing figures pulsing violently. Faces emerged from the blackness, contorted in anguish, their sewn mouths silently howling. Each face held a piece of her, a part she had tried to forget but couldn't escape. Lisa stumbled, falling against the slanted wall, feeling the cold wood against her skin. "Choose," the chilling voice whispered again, a serpent slithering into her mind. "Choose or be consumed." But what did it mean? The choice felt heavy, like a stone pulling her down. She gripped her hair, anxiety spiraling. Was it a choice between confronting the shadows or abandoning everything? And what if confronting them meant sacrificing herself? The door behind her pressed tightly, refusing to budge. She was trapped in a nightmare of her own making, a purgatory filled with the echoes of all she had lost. "Jake, I can't," she murmured, tears spilling down her cheeks. Suddenly, there was a flash, a brief stab of light. It illuminated a path through the swirling chaos, revealing an old trunk sitting in the corner, half hidden by the shadows. Something inside urged her to approach, a flicker of recognition sparking like a match in the night. That trunk, it belonged to her father, a carrier of memories long forgotten. Ignoring the shadow's hisses, Lisa pressed forward into the murk. Every instinct screamed danger, but the light beckoned her closer. As she neared the trunk, she could hear something inside, a soft, rhythmic thumping, like a heartbeat. It resonated with her own racing pulse, calling out to her from the depths of despair. "What secrets do you hold?" she whispered, her hand trembling as she reached for the latch. The shadows hissed louder, a frenzied crescendo of desperate voices, fighting back against her curiosity. With a swift motion, she flung the trunk open, a blinding light exploding from within, momentarily illuminating the darkness. A figure loomed there, half-shrouded, eyes gleaming like knives. "Welcome back, Lisa," it rasped, voice drenched in malice. She couldn't turn back now. Not when the fading glimmer of hope and the pleas for salvation collided in that dark void. "Who are you?" she gasped, but the shadows screamed, drowning her out, and in that moment, surrounded by the bitterness of past regrets and a flickering chance at redemption, everything hung in the balance. What price would she pay to save Jake? The shadows danced dangerously close, a cacophony of rage and pleading. Would she have the courage to embrace the truth that lay within the trunk? As the figure stepped closer, darkness surged around her. Lisa felt a jolt of icy dread surge through her spine. What lay inside could change everything if she dared to look. The figure leaned forward, its sharp eyes piercing through the blinding light that erupted from the trunk. Lisa's heart seized in her chest. It felt as if the shadows had paused, holding their breath in anticipation. "Each of us is tied to a choice, Lisa," the figure crooned, voice like gravel crunching beneath heavy boots. "You've buried your truth long enough. Will you face it, or will you allow the darkness to consume you?" The light flickered, revealing more of the creature's form, a skin stretched taut over bone and sorrow. It extended a long, bony finger towards her, beckoning with the promise of revelations and dread. The shadows recoiled slightly, as if afraid of what light might expose. "Jake," she whispered again, as if saying his name could slice through the growing terror. But the figure merely chuckled, a sound that echoed like 1,000 forgotten memories wailing in unison. "You're not here to save him, are you?" it hissed. "You're here to save yourself." Lisa felt everything pull taut within her, a quivering string ready to snap. The flash of light faded, leaving her in a dim glow. The heartbeat from the trunk grew louder. The shadows pressed closer, eager for the outcome, the audience hungry for the spectacle of despair. Every instinct in her screamed to run, to shut that trunk and regain her distance from whatever horror it unleashes. But that heartbeat so alive, so urgent demanded her attention. She was drowning in uncertainty, caught between the weight of a decision that felt like it could shatter her completely. "Why do you haunt me?" she shouted, voice cracking. "What are you?" The figure cocked its head, a sardonic smile creeping along its lips. "I'm the truth you refuse to face, Lisa. The embodiment of what you've kept hidden. Unseal it, and I might show you what you fear." A tremor ran through her limbs. The cold floor gnawed at her nerves like ice, creeping upward. Was this it? Would confronting the past reveal a path to Jake's salvation, or further entrap her in a web of her own making? With a shaky breath, she recalled the flashes of laughter with Jake, the warmth of shared secrets and dreams that once made life beautiful. Could this creature really help her save him, or was it merely a trick, a trap disguised as wisdom? "Choose," it demanded, voice now thunderous, vibrating the very walls around her. The shadows surged closer, and for a moment, Lisa felt their frustration, a desperate plea for recognition, an echo of the life she had tried to forget. The trunk thumped again. Now, it felt more like a living thing, its rhythm syncing with her racing heart. Each beat resonated within her, louder and louder, until it drowned out everything else. Face your demons, the figure implored, stepping closer, its eyes swirling with colors Lisa couldn't name, or they'll consume the very fabric of your soul. What are you willing to sacrifice? The shadows whipped around her, shrieking like a whirlwind, and for the first time, Lisa felt their weight and hunger. The darkness clawed at her thoughts, a constant reminder of her buried guilt and loss. She glanced at the trunk again, the glowing contents pulsing, urging her to take a step forward. There was no more running. If she didn't decide now, she'd never escape this abyss. Do it. The voice hissed, and in the heart of that chaos, Lisa took a trembling step closer. In that moment, a shocking revelation pierced her mind. What had been lost was not just Jake, it was a part of her own being, a crucial piece she could reclaim. As she reached for the trunk once more, a piercing shriek erupted from the shadows, their furious cries flooding her senses. No! They screamed, and the air thickened with desperation, as if the very world around her would collapse. Would she be brave enough to uncover the truth that might save them both? With her heart pounding like thunder, Lisa prepared to confront the horrors contained within. But in the depths of her need for clarity, the question loomed, would the truth set them free, or would it seal their fates forever? The moment Lisa's fingers brushed against the cold surface of the trunk, a jolt surged through her like an electric shock. The heartbeat pulsed deeper within, reverberating in tandem with the terror wrapping around her heart. She hesitated. Images flickered in her mind, Jake laughing, their stolen moments underneath the stars, the blackened darkness that followed. It twisted in her gut, filling her with panic. What was hidden inside this trunk? The figure leaned closer, its breath like frost against her cheek. You think the truth will save you? How naive. Its voice dripped with a twisted kind of glee. Open it, and you might find more than you bargained for. A sudden roar of wind whipped through the room, extinguishing the remaining light. The darkness felt alive, surging forward, wrapping around Lisa like a predator ready to pounce. Shadows slithered past her, whispering cries of anguish that clawed at her sanity, overwhelming her senses. Face it. The entity screamed, almost gleeful in its demand. What will you lose? What will you gain? The past is waiting, Lisa. A cold sweat broke over her forehead. She fought to breathe, and each inhale felt heavier than the last. What was waiting for her, a loss or some twisted redemption? She could almost hear Jake call out to her, urging her to come back to him. No more running. With a surge of courage, she gripped the handle firmly and yanked it open. The trunk creaked, protesting as it revealed the glowing abyss within. The light spilled out, vivid and radiant, dragging her deeper into its blinding grasp. Suddenly, images exploded before her, a nightmarish tapestry of moments long buried. She saw Jake's face twisted in anguish, the pain of betrayal washing over him like a tidal wave. Then she saw herself, standing at the edge of that cliff, a choice made that forever altered their lives. Your wickedness led to his downfall, the creature hissed, eyes narrowing with satisfaction. Every choice has a consequence. Do you wish to relive it? No. She shrieked, instinctively stepping back, but the darkness surged, seizing her ankles, pulling her closer, deeper into the glowing light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Denial won't save you. It howled, as the shadows clawed at her heart. They want truth. You must confront what you've done. Lisa's breath hitched, thoughts racing. The past she tried to bury was rising now, clawing for recognition. Dread sank its teeth deeper, an icy realization cutting through the fear that this dimension of the shadows was not just a reflection of her guilt, but of her own failures. Jake! She gasped, but the name turned sour on her tongue, the glow intensified, revealing what had been lost. Memories danced like phantoms around the trunk, sharp and clear, the moments of laughter shadowed by the specter of regret. She could see them, feel them, but at what cost? Embrace the truth, the figure taunted from the edges of her vision. Only then can you hope to free him. As the shadows shrieked and writhed, Lisa felt their hunger, stark and unyielding. They were right, everything she had done was written in pain and sorrow, a tapestry of choices echoing through the ages. The heartbeat quickened, a drum of impending horror that filled her ears, drowning out her screams. What was she willing to sacrifice to reclaim what was lost? Just as the light threatened to consume her, a chilling whisper brushed against her ear. "What is it you truly desire, Lisa?" The very air crackled with suspense as Lisa hovered at the precipice of her own truth. Would she have the power to face her demons, or would she fall, lost forever? In that moment, the trunk began to close, ejecting an otherworldly scream. "No!" she cried out, lurching forward, desperate to keep it open. And in that split second, she caught a glimpse of something, a reflection of her darkest fears laid bare, but she needed to know before the final choice descended upon them both. Would courage lead to salvation or deeper damnation? The trunk slammed shut with a thunderous clap, the sound drowning out Lisa's scream. The room spun, shadows swirled like a tornado, and for a heart-stopping moment, she felt untethered, as if the ground beneath her had vanished. "Why do you resist?" the figure hissed, its voice reverberating against the walls, echoing back her worst fears. "The darkness knows you, Lisa. It sees your weakness. Why not surrender to it?" Lisa stumbled back, heart racing, struggling to catch her breath. The air was thick with an acrid taste, metallic and bitter. She turned, weaving through the chaos like a blind runner on an obstacle course, reaching for a sense of calm, something, anything, that could anchor her. Outside the windows, the storm raged, clawing at the glass like a wild beast threatening to break in. Thunder cracked. With each rumble, the power of the shadows surged within her, pooling with rage as if the universe itself wanted her to fail. "You're wrong!" she shouted, fists clenched. "You don't own me. I want to let you control my truth." The figure's laugh was chilling, each note dripping with madness. "And yet, here you are, on the precipice of despair. You're one choice away from unveiling your darkest self." As the shadows closed in, Lisa caught a fleeting glimpse of Jake's face, twisted in agony, waiting for her on the other side. Panic surged like an electric shock. Was this all her fault? Was it her betrayal that drew him into the darkness, trapped forever by her choices? She had to confront it. The truth lingered just out of reach, pulsating in the air. "Show me," she demanded, unsure if she was speaking to the entity or to herself. "Show me what I've done." Suddenly, the trunk trembled, and a strange light flickered from beneath the lid. The shadows hesitated, almost recoiling as if they were afraid. Lisa took a step closer, heart hammering in her chest. In that moment, time seemed to slip as a portal opened, showing glimpses of the past, every cruel word, every moment of hesitation. Past mistakes bled into her reality like paint spilling on a canvas. "I loved you." Jake's cry pierced through the images, raw and full of hurt. "But you chose them. You chose them over me." A deep hollowness filled her chest. Each word was a knife, cutting deeper, reminding her that forgiveness was a ghost she had banished long ago. "Do you see now?" The figure cackled, stepping closer, its form shifting, taking on elements familiar yet grotesque. "The choices you made ripple through time. You can't escape them." A blinding flare emanated from the trunk. Lisa was entranced, drawn in as it revealed her reflection, vulnerable, regretful, a silhouette of what could have been. She saw the path to redemption, the chance to face Jake, to face herself. If she dared, but shadows encircled her like a steely cage. They coiled around her, whispering fears, wrapping around her heart and tightening their grip. The room was alive with danger as her breath quickened, nostalgia battling against despair. "Are you ready to embrace your truth?" the figure taunted, its eyes glowing with malicious joy. "Or will you let the shadows consume you again?" Lisa's pulse raced, heart teetering on the brink. Everything she loved teetered on a knife edge, and with it, her chance to reclaim what was lost hung in the balance. Could she find the courage to confront her darkest sins, or would she stumble, surrendering to the very darkness she feared? "Choose, Lisa," the shadows hissed, their cold fingers brushing against her skin. Choose before it's too late. As the walls pulsated and the air grew heavier, an unsettling calmness washed over her. The line between right and wrong blurred. What was she willing to sacrifice? The trunk beckoned, its lid agape, waiting to reveal more horrors. Was she ready to turn the final page? What lay ahead could change everything or seal her fate forever. The air grew thick, a tangible pressure pinning Lisa against the damp wall. Her mind raced, thoughts colliding like storm clouds above. Shadows danced menacingly at the fringes of her vision, while the figure loomed ever closer, its voice a thin murmur, slicing through the chaos. Do you feel it, Lisa? The pull of the darkness, it teased, a smirk twisting across its distorted face. Every secret, every disgrace, they await your embrace. So fragile you are, tethered to your failures. She recoiled, a flicker of defiance igniting deep within her. I will not let you win. I will face whatever I need to. The figure's laughter crackled through the room, mingling with the roar of the storm outside. Lightning split the night, illuminating fleeting fragments of memory. Each flash illuminated a moment of pain, the scarring words she hurled at Jake, the moments she chose others over him when he needed her most. Each instance carved deeper into her soul, digging up all the guilt she buried. Every choice you made brought you here, the figure hissed, its form shifting and pulsating, shadow blending with foreboding hues. What will you sacrifice for redemption? Your truth or your sanity? As if in response, the trunk throbbed with an anguished pulse, inviting her closer. Silently, she begged it to reveal the answers. An impossibly strong urge twisted within her. She clenched her fists, nails biting into her palms, focusing on the flicker of light emanating from within. The shadows ebbed for a heartbeat, leaving her in an eerie silence. With each step toward the trunk, she felt the weight of shadows clawing at her back, pulling her into a whirlpool of doubt. She envisioned Jake's face, his sadness etched into her memory like a branding mark. What had she done? What's the price of redemption? Let go of the past, the figure urged, a caustic whisper scratching at her ears. You'll find peace in oblivion. Or be haunted by your regrets. Show me. Lisa shouted, desperation stressing every syllable. The trunk quivered, seeming to absorb her plea. It shuddered as if awakening, unguarded truths swarming like angry bees. With shaking hands, she grasped the edges of the lid, the frayed with a stark contrast against the gentle light that beckoned her, but within the moment, doubt gnawed, feeding on her fear. Each heartbeat thundered in her ears, drowning out the conflict. Could she confront what lay within? Was she even ready to witness the monster her life had become, the choices that had turned love into despair? The trunk fluttered open, revealing darkness that overflowed like viscous ink swirling through an unchartable void. What lay beneath was more than just memories, it was the embodiment of every taunt, every failure, every broken promise. It pulsated with a life of its own, urging her to dive in, to take the plunge into the depths of her treachery. Courage, she whispered to herself, the word almost lost against the storm's fierce winds. But courage turned to fright as shadows lunged from the trunk, reaching for her, searching for the cracks in her resolve. What will you give to save him? The figure probed relentlessly. What comes of uncovering your sins? You may lose more than you gain. In that instant, something within Lisa snapped. She had felt lost for too long. I'll risk it. I'll face whatever horror lies inside to bring him back. As the shadows lunged, wrapping around her like black smoke, Lisa made her choice. She poured her heart into the declaration. Would it be enough to extinguish the darkness threatening to take her under? The air crackled with electricity and horror as she took the final step, lunging headlong into the depths of the trunk. And then, silence. But even in the void, one thought blazed like wildfire: if she had chosen wrong, her next heartbeat might be the last as the shadows threatened to pull her under once and for all. What awaited her on the other side? Would it bring salvation or doom her forever? The darkness enveloped Lisa like a suffocating fog, thick and cold. She couldn't tell where she ended and the shadow began. Fear drummed in her chest, a relentless rhythm urging her to wake up, to turn back, to run. Instead, she steadied her breath, inhaling the bitter scent of dust and despair. As the oppressive silence thickened, echoes of her regrets reverberated louder than ever. She felt memories surfacing, violent and raw, crashing around her like waves. There was Jake, staring at her with accusation in his eyes. His silent pleas clawed at her, each one a sharp edge of shame. "You left me," they whispered, the sound ricocheting in her mind. "Leave me alone," she yelled into the black void, but the darkness only pressed closer. A ripple of laughter danced on the air, sinister and chilling. It was the figure, the embodiment of all she feared. "You can't escape me, Lisa," it jeered, each word dripping with mockery. "I am you. Your confessions, your choices. I am what you tried so hard to bury." The walls of shadow closed in tighter, and Lisa felt her resolve begin to crumble. Desperately, she reached out. Her fingers brushed against something solid amidst the creeping darkness. A feathered quill. It pulsated with dim light, a stark contrast against the surrounding gloom. "Write your sins, Lisa. Make them real," the figure urged. "You think these shadows punish you? No, they simply reflect your truth. What have you done? What will you confess to save him?" Heart racing, Lisa squeezed the quill until her palm ached. With every ounce of strength, she began to write in the air, the invisible ink shimmering momentarily before fading into the void. The weight of every mistake materialized before her, each sin taking shape like shadows manifesting into monstrous forms, torn words strung together like a broken necklace. "I chose fear over love. I turned my back when he needed me most. I lied." As each confession spilled from her soul, they swirled in the air, glowing faintly. The figure recoiled as if flicked by an invisible dart. "No. You can't face them. They will consume you." But Lisa pressed on. "I abandoned him. I closed my heart. I didn't believe he would stay." The moment her final confession left her lips, the air crackled fiercely. The shadows around her twisted, rising in furious spirals. They closed in, dark claws grasping and yanking at her. It felt like drowning in quicksand. "Bring it on!" she screamed back defiantly, her voice rising above the chaos. "If I must be consumed, I would rather be consumed by my truths than live in this nightmare." Infuriated by her bravery, the figure lunged forward. With twisted horns and piercing eyes, it became an even more monstrous reflection of her darkness. "Your truth will tear you apart." Lisa felt the quill slip from her fingers. It fluttered helplessly into the sprawling void. The shadows raged like a storm, distorting everything once again into a monstrous entity. But she refused to let it take her this time. She wouldn't go down without a fight. With one last deep breath, she screamed, "Release me." The shadows curled, and for the first time, the grip loosened. Light bled into the darkness. She felt warmth seep into her bones like a forgotten memory returning. Was this the beginning of salvation, or merely a cruel trick? Just as clarity began to dawn, a piercing screech filled her ears. "You think you can escape?" The figure howled, its tormenting laughter deafening her resolve. The scattering shadows clawed viciously toward her, now frenzied. The quill began to glow again, pulsating wildly. The ink was telling a story of its own, branching into a tapestry of choices. Each word writhed, yearning to be set free, but just as she reached for it, the floor beneath her trembled, cracking wide. Would she plunge into truth or into a deeper madness? To what depths would her confessions take her? The unseen consequences loomed like daggers, waiting to strike. Lisa's world fell apart as the floor splintered beneath her feet, breaking away from solid ground. A rush of fear flooded her veins like ice water, but she steeled herself, clutching at the rising light that flickered before her. The shadows screamed through a vortex of voices, angry and desperate to reclaim whatever they could lost. Beneath her, the abyss was waiting, full of nightmares she had avoided for far too long. "Reveal your true self, Lisa." The figure sneered, inching closer, a grotesque image reflecting her worst traits, a reminder of every time she had let fear choose for her. As she teetered on the precipice, the quill begged to be reclaimed, the pulse of its light singing a siren song. She dashed forward, reaching into the darkness, as fragments of her past clawed at her memory, the echoes of Jake's laughter, the screams of anguish, the feeling of helplessness. "Let me go!" she shouted, her arms swinging wildly to counterbalance as she felt gravity shift around her. The figure loomed closer, peering into her soul with those sharp, unwavering eyes. "Where do you think you're going, Lisa? Your truth is not a way out." Each syllable ignited her determination. "I'm not running anymore," she declared, her voice fierce and solid, ripping through the chaos. "I will face what I've done. I will save my son." Summoning every ounce of courage, she dove into the light, grasping the quill as if reclaiming a lost piece of herself. The moment her fingers closed around it, the energy surged through her, bright and illuminating, pushing back the shadows like dawn breaking the night. Words sprang from her heart, tumbling into the air. "I was afraid. I let others dictate my love. I didn't believe he mattered enough." With every confession, the darkness roared, twisting and writhing around her like a fierce storm. But the intensity of her resolve ignited the quill, amplifying her words into blinding beams of light. The figure hissed, contorting as shadows repelled and fell back, fiercely struggling against the shimmering truth she unveiled. "You'll regret this," it screeched, but Lisa blinked back the doubts and pushed on. "I chose to bury my pain instead of facing it. I lost him because of my cowardice. I will not let the shadows take him. Not anymore." The shadows shrieked, rage flooding the air as Lisa felt their grip weaken. The ground beneath her shimmered as cracks of light spread like wildfire, illuminating her fears and shattering the chains of her past. Each confession gave power to her own redemption, shaking her to the core yet propelling her toward freedom. Suddenly, amid the chaos, a voice broke through the cacophony, soft yet firm, Jake's voice. "Mom, please come back to me." And with those simple words, clarity washed over her. She wasn't just battling for her own truth, she was fighting for him, for their love, for the bond that once pulsed through them like electricity. "I'm coming, Jake." An explosion of light radiated through the darkness, pushing the shadows back beyond the walls of despair. Lisa faced the figure now not with fear, but with a radiant, unwavering strength. "I will reclaim my son. Your hold on us ends now." As the figure melted into shadow, blending with the tormented cries of countless souls, the shadows swirled into a relentless storm, a tempest of anguish retreating into their own abyss. Lisa pushed against the tide, heart racing as she surged through the luminous path she had carved with her own declarations. With a final roar of fury, the remnants of the darkness collapsed, scattering into nothingness, leaving only a radiant glow in their wake. Ahead, a door opened, revealing a familiar warmth, a bridge to her past, to Jake. She stepped through, transcending the haunting veil, and stumbled into the attic. "Mom!" Jake's voice echoed, full of anguish and relief. There he stood, eyes wide, fear etched into his young features. Lisa rushed to him, pulling him into her arms as they both collapsed onto the attic floor. "I thought I lost you," she cried, holding him tight. "No, I was scared, Mom. I couldn't find you. It felt like I was calling forever," he whispered, trembling. As they hugged, the attic felt lighter, bathed in the soft glow of dawn filtering through the windows. Lisa smiled, tears streaming down her cheeks, letting the relief flow through her. "We'll never be lost again, not as long as we choose to face our fears together." A newfound resolve settled within her, a promise echoing through her soul. "We will reclaim what was lost, Jake. We'll rebuild our lives one truth at a time." And as they sat together, the attic around them quaked with the remnants of shadows pushed to the corners, no longer able to haunt their bond. It was time for healing, for voices of joy to echo where despair had once lingered. With a final glance back at the remnants of darkness, Lisa took Jake's hand. Despite everything, Hope thrummed like a bright heartbeat in the fragile world. The suffocating weight of shadows had finally lifted, and dawn spread over Maplewood, bright and reborn. It was time to embrace the light. Now, dear viewers, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, it really helps me out. Get ready to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this incredible ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is key. Only true fans understand how crucial these actions are.